Welcome to the Run Out. I am Neil Barrett. He is Brandon Hooten. We have so many things to get into. The Rush are clearly the best team in the NLL. The Mammoth are the hottest team in the NLL. And the University of Denver Pioneers might be the best team in the NCAA.
Winning it all.
This week. But before we get into all of that and much more, as always, Brandon, how was your week, man?
It was pretty busy. It was I was sick literally all week. I still am sick, I think, which sucks. But ended up shooting 3 games on the weekend. It was supposed to be 4, but the first one got canceled, so I was okay with that. Saw 2 dubs Saturday. 2 dominant dubs Saturday, I should say, at that. And then just back on the grind every day.
How did the club team do?
It was not great for them. I'll say that. It was Air Force's club team looks to be pretty good. But first game jitters again. You get your first game canceled and then you have to go play Air Force. It's a tough draw, but it is what it is.
It's tough too, because one of the big things in like club lacrosse, one of the big like disparities can be in like being in shape and conditioning and stuff. And it's like, yeah, those Air Force kids, even if they're not the Division I athletes, they're still like PT is a mandatory thing, like they're going to be in shape. So
you can definitely tell, like not just with them, but every person I've been around that's, going to the Air Force Academy, they look a certain way, they act a certain way, they're fit in the same ways as well. So it's like, it was one of those like, okay, they're just kind of built for this right now. So
the Royal Rumble was this past weekend. I got to see your guy Rey Mysterio not win.
The GOAT. He's a GOAT.
He was there. His son came back last night. That was fun. I know how much you love to talk about wrestling. Oh, and while we're on things that you love to talk about and that you know so much about, Manchester United won again. That is 3 straight games.
I know. I called it. Michael Carrick's the best hire they could have had.
I don't know if you know this. There's a guy who's kind of in a weird way kind of gotten famous because he coming up on 2 years, it's probably closer to like 18-20 months ago, but about 2 years ago he said he was not going to cut his hair until Manchester United won 5 games in a row, and they have not done that, and this is now the closest that we have gotten to him cutting his hair. It's 3. He's got to win 2 more. And we only have 1 competition to do it in. So we'll see about that. But I wish I knew his name off the top of my head so I could shout him out. Maybe people could look him up. Michael Harrison just sent it to me and was like, hey, have you heard of this? And I was like, yeah, that guy's like very well known in Manchester United circles. But anyway, let's talk some lacrosse. How about that? We will start in the NLL with week 10 just having wrapped up. First game of the weekend saw the Saskatchewan Rush beat the Calgary Roughnecks 14-8. This was a game of 2 teams at opposite ends of the NLL standings, and the game more or less played out the way that we thought it would, kind of going into it. Is anything impressive about this on either side? Is no, just move on to the next one. Yeah.
I mean, cool for Saskatchewan. The problem is their wins are boring because we come to expect it now. And this is who Calgary is, unfortunately, as well. So, like, for me, when I watch Calgary, I like watching Noah Manning play, who wasn't available in this game. So, like, there were some good fights at the end. I saw Tanner Cook kind of getting into it with some people. Like, that was kind of cool. But otherwise, it was, great first couple of minutes there for Calgary. I will give them credit, going out to a 3-0 lead. And then something happened where Saskatchewan just kind of said, yeah, we're done with this, and then just kind of went off and dominated. So not much to take. Saskatchewan, good job doing what you need to do. Calgary,
Yeah.
Got another game soon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they scored. Well, it's funny because Calgary actually got up 3-0, and then Saskatchewan was like, nah, and they scored 7 straight after that, and 8 of the next 7. Never mind. I'm moving on. My brain's not going to get there. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess the one good thing is that I don't even know if it's all that good, but because you still gave up 14, but Aiden Walsh put in 49. Otherwise, I guess this game could have been even uglier. But I guess in the bright spot when like you said, when why did I just blank on his name? That you just said was missing.
Noah Manning.
When Noah Manning's out and your goalie makes 49 saves and kind of keeps you in a game, it's like, well, small wins, I guess, but not a ton to really talk about in this game. It went pretty much exactly as we would have expected. So let's move over to the second game of the weekend, which saw the San Diego Seals beat the Philadelphia Wings 13-7. The Seals win their 3rd straight game, but 2 of the 3 wins have been against the Wings. So my question for you about this game was, are the Seals figuring it out? Is there anything to look forward to for this team? Anything to be hopeful about? Or is this just kind of them playing a worse team?
I mean, they certainly figured out the Wings.
Well, yeah.
That's really it. If you want to pull something, Connor Robinson looked really good in this one with 6 points. Kind of got back to his scoring self, which was good. I think it was also his first hat trick as a Seal, if I'm not mistaken. So that was nice to see. I think Chris Riglieri is kind of coming back into the form that we expected of him coming into the year. Again, though, you're playing the Wings. I would like to see that kind of continue before I fully jump on that train. But Baptiste, another dominant game. 3 for 4 on the power play, while the Wings went 1 for 6. Like, if the Wings can't score on the power play, they're basically not scoring at all, unfortunately. And they went second and third quarters with no score at all. So, they got a lot of questions. I just don't. I'm at a loss for words with them a lot of times. Like, I just don't. Brendan O'Neill should be taking like double the shots he took in this game. He took 8 shots. At this point, let him start taking 20. I don't know what else. Like, thankfully, Joey Rez had 3 goals in this one. If he's hitting like that, let him shoot 20. Like, they got to get more contributions. There's just some guys on this team that should have way more points than they do. And at this point, it's just repetitive. Every week they're starting to enter the Calgary Roughneck territory. Actually, they're already there. I shouldn't even say they're entering. Where it's just like, this is who they are. They come do the same thing every single week. Even in the win against Colorado, thinking back, they scored 8 goals. Like, this is just who they are. So, I mean, good on Nick Damude, I guess, for, only letting in 9. I'm not taking anything away from him. But then he got pulled, from what I can tell. So, I guess that's really not great. At the same time, I'm trying to figure out something positive to say, but there's really not much to take from them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you said, it feels like Brendan O'Neill has regressed in a lot of ways. Whether that's him regressing or just like them not getting him the opportunities or whatever. In a weird way, maybe it's even that Michael Sowers is taking touches away, and so I don't know. But it feels a little weird that Michael Sowers is consistently being so good for them. And I say that as a big Michael Sowers fan. But I'm just like, we're talking about a guy who's played a handful of NLL games in his life, in his career, I guess I should say, and didn't play box. My understanding is he played some local box when he was like at Princeton, in Philly, like when he would go down there during the summers. I have some friends that played against him, but not a big box guy, and he's overnight kind of become one of your better offensive players, out outperforming guys that have been on this team and in this league for significantly longer. I don't know. It's on the surface, it's not a bad thing. But it feels like a bad thing in this case. That I don't think anyone thought that he should be there. But I find it frustrating because a couple weeks ago we talked about how the Wings were usually playing fairly well in their games, even though they weren't winning them. And it feels like basically since we said that, they've just been like, oh, really? No, we're not doing that anymore. And they just don't look like the same team that they did 3 weeks ago at all. Not that they were winning games 3 weeks ago, but they just don't look as good as they did when they're losing them. So,
but they always start well, which is what's the frustrating part.
Yeah,
the last 2 weeks specifically, like they started really well, and then just like lost whatever they had, and it's like I'm all for. I recognize other teams make adjustments and all that stuff, but like, how do you go from scoring 4 in the first, you're up by 2, and then you get outscored 4-0 back-to-back quarters? Like, I don't know if that's like a defensive issue, if it's an offensive issue. It's obviously a bit of both, but just like something's got to change. Like, and part of me feels like they're not going to make any movement at the trade deadline aside from trading pieces away, which, I mean, you can't necessarily blame them, but I'd also just like to see them try to win more games. And there's not that fight right now. Whereas San Diego, yeah, they're playing Philly, but they took care of business twice in a row. They're against them. They're building that momentum. Now, even if they played a top-tier team in the league, they should feel pretty good about where they are because, like I just said, they're getting guys like Connor Robinson, in the rhythm. Pat Cavanaugh's in a rhythm. Zach Currier is playing like crazy on the offensive end, which is great. Wes Berg had 4 assists in this game, no goals. He didn't need to score. Like, those types of contributions are going to be helpful for them moving forward, which for a team that, I think I had finishing bottom 3 or 4 is pretty good because now all of a sudden they can challenge those teams that are, 8 through 10 or whatever. So I guess good for San Diego. They, obviously winning at home and away back-to-back weeks against this team's good, but yeah, just frustrated with Philly right now, I think.
Yeah, I am frustrated with Philly. And part of the problem, like I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, they feel worse than the sum of their parts. And I'm not saying that they have a championship roster constructed. They don't. Let's not blow this out of proportion. But it does feel like they have a better roster than they're playing right now.
They should have more than one win.
Right. And prior to these 2 back-to-back games, we just said the San Diego Seals were really just not good. Then of course they somehow beat Vancouver, which makes no sense. And then they follow it up with back-to-back wins against Philly. And while I think last week felt maybe a little bit more like a battle in these two, this game wasn't that at all. And last week I felt like, maybe the Wings could reverse that.
Yeah.
And this week, and then they came out and it didn't, like you said, they started well. And then once San Diego got going in that second half, like it was like, oh, sorry, second quarter. It was just like, they just folded and they didn't do anything. 4-0 in the second and 4-0 in the third. It's just like, what are we doing? I don't know. They're so frustrating, like I said, because they feel worse than the sum of all of their parts. And I think that's why early in the season, again, they're not a great constructed roster. And early in the season, when they're like duking it out with some teams that you expect to be higher up in the table, it's like, oh, okay, like this feels right. And then they just play down. So, but that being said, I look at the Seals and I'm like, yes, that Vancouver win was impressive, and it continues to get more impressive as Vancouver continues to turn into the team we thought they would be. But then I look at these last two games and I'm like, are you figuring it out, or are you just playing the wings?
Well, they play the Rush this weekend, so we'll get a pretty direct answer on Saturday.
Yeah. And I don't think San Diego's going to like it, but we'll talk about that later. Let's move on to your favorite game of the weekend that saw the Colorado Mammoth absolutely rout the Buffalo Bandits 20-9. The Mammoth win their 5th straight game since acquiring Jack Hanna. And I'm just going to let you go once again. Just open the floor up.
2 words. Domination. That's all it was, start to finish.
Is that 2 words?
I just made it 2 words. No, I was on Buffalo Sports Collective last week talking with those guys about the game, and one of my major keys was just that the Mammoth had to have a multi-goal lead at the end of the first, and they had to get out to a hot start. And that first quarter was 4-0. And look what happened. And they were up by 8 at halftime. I mean, when they get going, they can maintain it. They're pretty much unstoppable, and they just hampered the Bandits. I mean, it was weird because during warm-ups, I was watching the Bandits warm up, and there was just a lot of sloppiness going on. I mean, shots. Dane Smith, before leaving the floor, he kind of does just a bunch of shots by himself. He hit the pipe, the crossbar, 5 times in a row. And I don't think he was trying to, because when he finally went top shelf with it, that's when he ran off the floor. So that was one thing. I also saw guys, passes going into the stands, shots all over the place, passes when they were doing their final warm-ups were just all over the place. And I was like, I hope it doesn't transfer over into the game for them, because it's going to be a tough game if it is. And sure enough, it did. And it was everything that could have went wrong. Jack Hanna and the righties attacked that, struggling, injured lefty defense, left side defense rather. I know Josh had, I think, 4 points in this game, but Tahoka was their leading point scorer with 5. But they couldn't stop Andrew Q with 11. Jack Hanna had 9.
Braden Saris had 7.
Braden Saris popped off, I think, that's a career high as well. I know it's a career high for him, actually. Yeah, I mean, and then you look at the contributions from the rest of the team. Dalen McIntosh having 4 goals with his first hat-trick as a Mammoth is crazy. TJ Camizio debuted in this game. Thomas Vela got in a fight he didn't want to get in, and then absolutely demolished the guy and hyped up the crowd more than I think the Bandits already needed to. At that point, the game was over. I don't know why they're fighting. Nate Whittam came in quote-unquote relief for Dylan Ward, even though they just sat him because they were like, hey, we're up too much, and played very, very well. Only gave up 3 goals, 15 saves. Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, this was the first time in a lot of weeks where Dylan Ward only had to make 26 saves. Again, he didn't play the fourth quarter, but even with the fourth, he wasn't getting to anywhere close to the 50 mark that he's kind of been hovering around recently. So, yeah, I mean, chased Vince twice. I don't think he played the second half. I don't know what's going on with Buffalo, but it's not good right now.
No, God, no, not at all. So I got 2 questions for you. One, is there a case that you can make for them to be the best team in the NLL?
I think so.
Over Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
What would your case be?
Well, I think offensively they're pretty similar. The 2 teams. I think they can pretty much score on anyone at any given time. Again, they just chased the GOAT twice in this game. I also think defensively, unless you're seeing something I'm not seeing, I don't think that the Rush are levels ahead of them defensively. And to be honest, I think Dylan Ward's playing better than Skiggs is right now. And Dylan Ward's keeping the team. I mean, Pat Coyle even said after this game that if the Bandits buried a couple of those goals early, it could have been a very different game. But Wardo was basically just standing on his head and was like, no, you're not scoring. And if he's doing that against Saskatchewan and the offense is still scoring, then I feel pretty good about that. Now, does that mean that like I'm mad at anyone for saying Saskatchewan's the best team in the league? No. Like, again, you can make a good argument for that too, but I mean, the way that they're playing right now, it's just I don't know who's stopping them.
Well, and I
mind you, this game was without Will Malcolm as well.
Yeah. He'll be back this season, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't told anything, so maybe I'll be wrong. But no, I think it's probably just something small. But I mean, we missed him. Owen Down, who's been a very good defender for us this year, didn't play in this game. Like the depth that this team has is the only team that literally rivals them, I think, is Saskatchewan. So, I mean, a series of 3 games in the playoffs between those teams, I think, would be pretty fun. But it's definitely those two right now, and then kind of a big gap to the rest of the league.
I will say defensively, on goals against average, which I think, especially considering that actually you and Saskatchewan have played the same amount of games, but goals against average, a good 0.75 goals better a game. And I would say offensively, looks like, no, just kidding. That's points. I was looking for goals. I forgot they don't do goals per game. So
I mean, they've given up 6 more goals than we have. They've scored 11 more goals than we have, and that's including a game where we got blown out 12-3.
That's true.
And since then, they haven't done that. They haven't looked like that at all. They've been much improved. So that's where it's like, that's why I'm not mad if people are like, well, look at this. Like they scored more, and like, okay, fine, whatever. But I think you look at, Mammoth dropped the Philly game, which they know they should have won, and then they just got destroyed by Georgia, and they went and avenged that 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And since then, their stars have shown up every single week. So, again, I'm not saying it'd be like a cakewalk against them by any means, but
Jack Hanna has made that defense so much better.
He has. He really has.
Then question 2 is Buffalo currently sits in 10th and played arguably their worst game of the season. And it feels like it's getting uglier, not better for them. So my question is it time to start ringing some alarm bells?
No.
We still think they're going to slide in at 8?
I'd maybe ring a telephone, make a move.
I'd ring a telephone.
I'd maybe pick up the phone and say, hey, who can you send us that's going to help us? The one thing I'll say about this team that I didn't notice on watching them TV throughout the season, but in person, I definitely noticed it. I think their age is catching up to them on the back end. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not even just talking about Vince. And I don't mean any disrespect to any of these guys, because I love all of them. But Paul Dawson looks slow. Steve Perolo doesn't look very agile right now. Matt Vince didn't look great. Their transition was like non-existent. I think they lost a couple of defensive pieces in the offseason that they didn't replace. And now there's just kind of like, hey, veterans, go and try to do this. And not that they can't. And that's why, again, I'm not ringing any alarms, because like, I still think they're better than a couple of these teams that are ahead of them in the standings. But it's one of those things that's like, if they don't make a move like quickly, basically before the trade deadline gets here, that's when it's going to be like, all right, this is not, start sounding the alarms, because they can't afford to drop another couple of games and then make a move, because at that point now you're trying to basically play for tiebreakers, which we've seen how that plays out in unified standings. It doesn't really work well for most teams. So if they don't make a move in the next week or two, absolutely, I'm going to be scared. But like, do I think they're better than the Seals? Yes. Do I think they're better than Toronto? Yes. Both of those teams right now are ahead of them in the standings. So there's still time to overtake them, but those teams also don't have, like I just said, the issue of they're old and can't move as well.
Yeah, we'll get to Toronto in a minute, but I think Toronto's getting better. We just talked about San Diego's getting better. And I'm looking at their schedule and I'm like, they've still got Vancouver twice. They've still got Saskatchewan twice. They've got Colorado again. They got the Nighthawks again. It's like there's a good number of these games that right here, right now, you would think, probably not going to win those. Which means it's going to be absolutely crucial that they win. Like, next week they have the Wings. They have to win that game.
If they lose against the Wings, then that to me will be like, aside from not trading for someone, that will be the final, like, this is it. And like you said, I feel like it's worse looking each week to where it's not like, oh, we just lost a 1-goal game because the ball bounced a different way, or we made one bad play here and it resulted in a goal. Like, we're talking about, and again, this weekend's score is an oddity. Like, I recognize that. But you gave up 12 goals in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
That's a full game score. In 30 minutes of play, you scored 4 when you have two of literally the best forwards I'll say it, to ever play the game on your team. I don't think that's a bad statement to say. Like, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith, I think, are two of the best to ever play, and they just haven't scored the goals in my head that we've seen from them in the past that are like, okay, this is the Buffalo Bandits. Right now, it just feels like they're getting a bunch of points because they're getting random assists here for Tehoka or Buchanan or whoever else. And then at the end of the game, oh, you have 4 or 5 points. That's awesome. But you lost by 11. Like, those two guys need to score the ball in the back of the net, not assist. Like, they need to go pull a Jeff T. Rob Hellier, essentially, on steroids. Because the rest of this team is not doing anything. And again, this is not something that we're accustomed to seeing. I know Bandits fans are like having meltdowns right now on Twitter and stuff because they don't know what to do with themselves. And it's like, there has to be some type of move. The fact that they won, I think it was 14 faceoffs in this game, and it did not feel like they won 14 faceoffs. If you watch the game back, it was like they'd win and then lose the ball. What is the point of winning the faceoff? Just turn the ball over. I don't understand that. So, long-winded answer. I'll panic first after if they lose to the Wings, and I will definitely panic a second time if they don't make a move.
Yeah, I think it's funny because if they lose to the Wings, and I don't expect that. I'm sure you don't expect that. I'm not sure that really anyone expects that to happen. If they lose to the Wings, you're going to go from a telephone ringing to like a full 5 alarm. Like, what in the world? Yep. But winning against the Wings is only going to relieve the pressure like this. Like, it ain't going to do a whole lot because it's the Wings. It's the Wings. You basically have to beat the Wings and then go the next week and make your trade right then. To where you have 2 positive things in a row. You got to win, build up a little bit of momentum. You trade for someone else, more momentum, and now you just hope and pray that you can squeak out a few of those games against, the top of the top. Well, my issue is, okay, you got the Wings this week. Should be a win. Should be. But then you got Halifax, Vancouver, and Saskatchewan back to back to back. And I know Halifax ain't, top of the league like maybe some people had thought they might be. I wouldn't predict Buffalo to beat Halifax right now. I would. But I'm also very, very down on Halifax right now. I mean, I'm not saying I'm high on Halifax, but I'm not. Like to me, Buffalo wins the next 2 and then kind of starts a slide. I don't know, man. It's in Halifax too. Like, we waxed those dudes 11-6 in Halifax. Because you're one of the best teams in the league. We also lost Jack Hanna for a half.
I'm just saying, I think Buffalo has enough star power to beat Halifax in Halifax. I don't think that's as big of a factor. Now, playing Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan?
I mean,
yeah.
They lost to Halifax at home.
Yeah, on a one goal loss in the first game of the season. When at Halifax was red hot.
Game of the season. It was the second game of the season.
Either way, a 1-goal loss, I'm not worried about that at the time. And again, this is two very different Halifax teams as well.
No, I hear you.
Which I don't have any faith in them stopping the Stars.
This is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as we have been talking about, yes, Halifax ain't the same Halifax they were. Buffalo ain't the same Buffalo they were. Buffalo beat Georgia. Would you pick Buffalo to beat Georgia right now? Don't.
Where's the game?
Well, let's see. The first game was at Buffalo, so this would be away.
No, right now I'd probably pick Georgia because their offense has found the back of the net. But I will say that Buffalo's offense has been the same all year because they put up 8 goals in that game against Halifax. They put up 9 goals last night. They have a couple of wins with like low goals.
No. Check this out. Last 3 games, all losses, all only scored 9 goals. Halifax, they only scored 8.
See, that's why they need their stars to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's clearly the thing. And as to that point, it's funny because I think you watch them and you look, like you said, you look at that defense and they look old. They look out of, I shouldn't say out of shape, but they look old. They look out of the game. They just don't, I hesitate to even put a ton of it on Matt Vince's shoulders. You know, we used to talk about in the PLL, Jack Concannon. I thought Jack Concannon was such a good goalie, but there's only so much he can do about guys shooting from on top of the crease. Like, there's only so much, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening with Matt Vince, but at some point, like, the defense has to put the offense in positions that the goalie wants to see, you know? So I hesitate to really put too much of the defensive struggles at Matt Vince's shoulders because the defenses just kind of look like Swiss cheese.
I mean, he kept them. He did make some really good saves in the first quarter,
right?
And they still put up 4, to where it was like he's doing like. There was a point in time after they scored like the first 3, I think it was, where he made back to back saves, and it was like, oh shoot, is he locked in now? And then all of a sudden, like, Dylan McIntosh was getting one-on-one opportunities with him and Vince. And then when he got pulled, now it was one-on-one opportunities with him and Evan C., which I can't say his last name, I apologize. To where it was like, do you guys know you have to, like, stop the player before he gets to the crease? Like, it was just one of those things that I was like, why are you not? And also, Zach Belcher was activated and then he was a healthy scratch. Why are you activating Zach Belcher and then not starting him? I don't. Like, he's a starter on your team, and you're like, we don't need to play him. I don't get it.
So, to finish what I'm saying, we look at this team and we see all these defensive issues, but in their losses, it's the offense that's not scoring. And some of that you can probably say is, you know, if the defense is a little bit better, they're keeping some points off the board and getting the offense the ball a little bit more, so maybe they can score a little bit more. But yeah, their 4 losses, they have been held under 10 goals in each of them. Their 3 wins, they've scored 13, 15, and 15. So it really seems like the key to them winning games is offense. So, to your point, getting some guys in and getting
maybe they're the Eastern Vegas.
Except I don't have the numbers up right in front of me right this second, but I would be willing to guess that Vegas has more consistently scored 13 points a game than
also true.
Now I gotta look.
I mean, Vegas has 12 more goals and 9 more goals allowed in the same games.
Vegas has not scored less than 10 goals in a game. And they have Sorry, just kidding. Was looking at the wrong numbers. They scored less than 10 goals one time. It was week 1 against Vancouver. Then they scored 10, 17, 13, 15, 10, and 16. So, but two of those were losses. So, and it wasn't that they won the game. They scored 10 in. So, I hear you though. I hear what you're saying. Let's move on because we just talked about that game for way too long. We don't need to talk about Colorado. We know.
We need to talk about them every single week. Even this week on the bye, we're going to talk about them.
No, I'm not even gonna. If a team is wearing red and black, I'm not even gonna talk about them. I'm talking to you, Calgary. We're not even gonna mention Calgary because it's too close to the Mammoth.
You just killed Ottawa too. Nice.
Oh yeah, we don't need to talk about them either. Jeff, who? What'd you say? No. Moving on, Vancouver beat Rochester 16-6 in one of the wilder results, I think, of the weekend. My question for you is: Did this game say more about Vancouver or Rochester?
I'm gonna say Rochester just because I don't think they're keeping their cool very well. What is Ryan Hartley doing? Going out
we should talk about that.
Hitting.
We should talk about that.
Is it Charbonnet? I don't want to get his name
I
wrong.
heard Charbonneau,
Charbonneau.
But I mean, Brain Maia, I don't know.
However you say your name, hope you're okay. I really want to believe in Rochester. I think I made that abundantly clear. I love them on paper. They look great in certain games. And then they have games like this where I'm just like, truly, what are you doing? You had 4 penalties in the first quarter. You clean it up in the second, you have 0. And then you have 4 penalties in the third. And then you have 4 penalties in the fourth, including a game misconduct. What? And you get your goalie gets tossed. By the way, for the Nighthawks fans that I see on Twitter, he didn't lose this game because Ryan Hartley got ejected. All right? He lost this game because your offense scored 6 points. And he got skunked in the third. He gave up 7. All this talk about Riley Hutchcraft being a good goaltender and how he's capable. So I don't want to hear all these excuses of he got ejected. So you guys have told us for years now that you have 2 starting goaltenders on your roster. Okay? The offense of who's on their offense that I'm Lanchberry, Fields, McConvey, Zed, McCauley, Ryan Smith, 6 goals between those guys. So figure it out because I want to root for this team to win games, and you're not winning very many games scoring 6 points. Obviously, credit to Vancouver, who are, again, we've been talking about, have started to pick it up, look awesome. Curtis Dixon with 8 points is huge, 7 from Jesse King, 12 from Keegan Ball, 10 assists from him, 6 from Charlie Lambedes, 5 from Marcus Clarich. They're putting it together, so shout out to them. But overall, this is another team I'm just frustrated with right now because they should be so much better than they are.
I have a couple of points, but before that, I gotta ask. We sort of talked about this really early in the year. I'm asking now. Is Keegan Ball the most underrated player in this league?
Yeah, I think I said that first couple of weeks because I was like, this dude, no one ever talks about. It's always
Never.
Keegan Ball had another good game.
Never.
And and it's always because he has these big assist games where people don't have the highlights of it. But I'm like, look at what he's doing. And again, he only took 7 shots in this game too. 2 for 7. Pretty dang good. Also, 11 loose balls, leads the team as a forward. The dude is crazy.
Yeah. In a manner of speaking, it's very different. But in a manner of speaking, he reminds me of that Zach Courier type player that does everything. Admittedly, more from an offensive side than a full field thing. But like you said, scores goals, scores assists, picks up loose balls, does everything that you'd want to do, gets zero attention for it, and and still just the next week just comes out, does it again, doesn't seem to care. And I'm like, I don't get why this dude, again, we talk about how the NLL has a problem with developing stars and promoting their stars just generally. I don't know why Keegan Ball isn't a big deal. Like the only thing I can think of is the fact that he's on a West Coast team that has not through his career had a bunch of deep runs. You know, they're not like a perennial kind of like championship caliber team. That's it. But otherwise, I mean, this dude should be getting talked about all the time. And there are guys in Saskatchewan that I think are just as good and probably talked about less. But at least you can go, well, okay, they're in Saskatoon, middle of nowhere. Like it's a small, Vancouver is a huge multicultural like metropolis. Like wow. How is that dude not talked about? Anyway, I was interested in your take on the execution of the rules.
They got it right.
It was almost universally condemned. And I've seen some people taking it to some real extremes, trying to go the other way and defend it, which was crazy to me. Though I will say I don't know if you saw that, the angle from the other side of the floor, you can see it makes it look a little better, but it just reminds me of the like defenseless receiver calls and the way that those things are adjudicated, and just like, no, it just don't do this anymore. Like, just
the problem is that you have everyone else saying they got it right, should be a suspension because you hit a guy who wasn't looking, and it wasn't like he like took a bunch of steps and then you hit him. It was literally like as soon as he got his head around, collision. That's the issue here. And then you have these Nighthawks fans that are saying, well, look at this other angle, and he hit shoulder to shoulder and chest, and it's like the way the hit occurred is not the issue. The issue is that the hit occurred. Like, you have, even in the rule, it states that you have to, essentially, it's like a defenseless receiver rule.
Yeah.
So why people are arguing against it, I'm like, he knew what he did was wrong. Again, we've seen this one other time. And according to Christian Del Bianco, before the season, the league sent them all a memo about this. So the fact that then this happens after you find out that information, I'm like, why are you even doing that? I know you don't want to give up a fast break goal, but come on.
Did you also see CDB saying that, like, if I knew that this was a possibility, because again, he's going off of kind of like, this is a point of emphasis from the league that they're not going to be they're not going to be allowing these kinds of hits and stuff. To be fair, they haven't allowed them for a while, but like they made it a point of emphasis this year. And he was like, I wouldn't throw those passes. Someone said something like, and I don't know why. Apparently in Canada, we would call it a buddy pass. Is that what you call it?
I call it a hospital ball.
A hospital pass too. Yeah, those are two that I've seen.
Now, apparently but that's not what occurred here.
Apparently they call it a suicide pass in Canada.
Yeah, I've never heard that. So
a guy called it a sui, which he was talking about a suicide pass, and which by the way, sorry, down a tangent. A suicide pass would be a pass you throw to yourself, wouldn't it? I don't know. Anyway, but Christian Del Bianco responded and was like, yeah, I wouldn't throw passes, kind of leading the guy. Yep. You see it all the time in the NLL nowadays. I didn't watch pre that rule being instated. But you see it all the time where you kind of lob it up in front of him, let it bounce once, and the guy just kind of runs onto it, catches and scores. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't throw passes like that if this if I knew this was going to be a potential outcome, but it's not supposed to be an outcome anymore. So I throw it out there for him to go get. The defense of this play was was kind of baffling. Did you see Graham Perot's article about it?
No, I read part of the article, but I didn't get to that part.
Sorry, I'm going to try and pull it up real quick. At least the part that I really liked, and I tweeted it out. You may have seen it. You may not. I don't. It doesn't really matter. But come on, computer. It just wants to be slow. So much stuff has happened this week. So he wrote, talking about the people that were kind of trying to defend it. He said, those people are part of the, quote, pro athletes are required to threaten or sacrifice their own health for my entertainment crowd and can be summarily ignored. Well, I don't know why I had trouble saying that. We have to remember that lacrosse players are people first, not commodities. And I loved that as just a response from him, because I do think that so often people get into that like whole gladiator in the Coliseum kind of thing of like, yeah, I'm watching this dude kill himself for me. And it just shouldn't be that way. So anyway, let's talk about maybe some more fun topics here and talk about Vancouver. You said this game maybe said more about Rochester than about Vancouver. Vancouver has won. Sorry, I just had it up and then I pulled it back down. They've won 2 straight, but 5 of their last 6. The only thing I'm looking at is their wins right now are Las Vegas, Oshawa, Calgary, Ottawa, and then this one against Rochester. You'd say those aren't the best wins. Because mixed in there too, they also have the loss to the San Diego Seals, which again does look a little better now than it did at the time, but maybe still not as good as it should be. Where is this Vancouver team right now?
3rd place.
We just looking at standings. They are they are who we thought they are.
That's where they are. They're not better than the Rush. They're not better than Colorado right now, but they're certainly better than the rest of the league. Yeah, that's about it.
Their goal differential is not better than the Swarm. I know that's not. I'm not saying that's like the deciding factor, but I am saying like.
But you're also talking about literally 1 goal difference.
Yeah, but we're also talking about 1 spot in the standings difference too.
Sure, Georgia's played 1 more game, and they have 3 more goals. Yeah, but I also think, which is funny, because if they were to show down right now, Georgia's offense is not putting up more than 10 against CDB. Vancouver's offense is still putting up 10, I think, which is tough for me to say because I'm a Brett Dobson believer.
A believer. I wish I could have formed that into his name somehow, but I couldn't. I'm not that intelligent. I do think it's going to be really interesting, and like I said, we'll get into this again, but they go right back to Vancouver to play. Well, excuse me. Vancouver comes to Vancouver. Rochester comes to Vancouver this weekend. So we'll get this matchup immediately. It's another one of those weird home and away in the middle of the season. So I think it'll be really interesting to watch that and see. And then they follow that up with Saskatchewan. So again, another one of those things where right when you have a question, you're almost immediately going to get some form of an answer. And I think we'll have a pretty good, we'll have a better understanding, I should probably say, of where exactly Vancouver is. I do think I would pick Georgia today.
That's a crazy take.
I don't know why that's a crazy take. We're talking about a Vancouver team that, you know, it's not like they've been lighting the league on fire. Again, they beat the Desert Dogs, the Firewolves, the Roughnecks, and the Black Bears before this game against Rochester. Those are teams they should beat, regardless of where they are in the rankings or in. Those are teams they should beat, right?
Sure.
So all I'm saying is, like, I just don't. I'm not sold on them yet. They've been very up and down. Admittedly, I get they're whatever it is, 5-2, but their performances have been very up and down. And while yes, I thought a bug just attacked you. You were like, oh
no, I had an alarm set on accident.
There's a snake in my room or something, you know. But as much as I think Georgia's offense has been up and down, I think the defense has been rock solid. And I for what it's worth, which I know is not $1 million or nothing, but I think that their defense has been at its best against the best teams. Yes, they lost to Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan scored 7. Yes, they lost to Colorado. Colorado scored 7. Like, it's almost like the better offense they play, the better their defense plays. So I think I would take Georgia. Not by a million goals. I'm not expecting a 20-9 drubbing. I think they'd win. We will find out on March 14th. How about that?
A lot can change between now and March 14th. But
I know.
Sure.
But by March 14th, that will not be my answer, probably. But right here today, that's my answer. And
Okay.
if on March 14th Georgia wins, I am going to clip the crap out of this.
All right. I think you're going to
be
be in
like,
for a rude awakening.
I'm going to be like, Brandon's an idiot. And now we're going to clip that when they lose. Okay. All right. Well, let's just move right along. We'll just move off of that. The next game of the weekend saw the Las Vegas Desert Dogs beat the Oshawa Firewolves 16-13. I don't even know that I care about this game.
No, it's the same story. Vegas put up a ton of points. Oshawa found an offense. Their defense didn't show up. Like clockwork.
No. So the question for this game is, Las Vegas has won 2 in a row. They look okay, but how much does the Chase Frazier injury impact them moving forward?
I mean, depends how long he's out. I didn't see the play, so I don't know what ended up happening. But when you lose I would put maybe, top 2 offensive weapons, top 3 at very least. You lose one of those guys, it's going to be tough automatically, but yeah, it's just going to really depend how long he's out, because like you said, they've at least been better than I thought they'd be, which they're 4-3 right now, which isn't horrible. If they can find a way to sneak out a few wins, then they should feel fine. They play Georgia this week, which is a tough task if Chase can't play, but they still have, Mitch Jones, Donville, Kluch. Like, they got some good guys that I think can take care of business, but I just hope it's not season ending.
Yeah. I mean, generally speaking, I just never want anyone to be injured, especially for a long period of time. That sucks, and nobody wants that. But obviously it depends on how long he's out. But even the handful of weeks, like you said, Georgia, Mammoth, Warriors, Thunderbirds, Nighthawks back to back. That's their next stretch of games. And I mean, they were going to be tough with Chase Frazier. Without him, it's going to be real tough.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, worst comes to worst, they end up the same way we thought they'd be in this stretch anyway.
yeah. I mean, yes.
Now,
Yeah,
I will say it's going to be tough for them because if you look at the standings, there's a lot of room for shakeup over 5 weeks to where if they end up going 1-4 or 0-5 or whatever, and it does really hurt them and affect them, all of a sudden we could be looking back and be like, oh, shoot, they're like really far out of it now and got to claw back, you know? But again, that's why I said if they can sneak out a couple games, just win 2 of the games. If he truly misses 4 to 5 weeks, just win 2 of them.
Yeah.
And you're still right there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, let's hope that Chase Frazier is not out for a long time, regardless of whether or not Las Vegas wins games or not. So, moving on to the final game of the NLL weekend, Toronto beat the Ottawa Black Bears 17-10. I would say this was a surprise, not so much the result, but the how it came about. That
no, the result was surprising
to you.
To most people.
I bet it wasn't surprising to Brad.
That's because Brad picks his team every week.
As he should. You say, I like how you say that. Like you didn't pick Colorado like every single week.
I didn't. I picked Vancouver week 1. I picked Georgia week 3.
But let's be honest about why you picked Vancouver in week 1.
Because Vancouver signed Curtis Dixon, Jesse King to a roster that had Keegan Ball, CDB, and a goated defense.
That is not why you picked Vancouver.
That's absolutely why I picked Vancouver. Of course not. Of course, it's a reverse jinx.
It was. That's right. That's right. We know.
Of course, but we all know that I picked Vancouver because it was Vancouver.
That's why I don't ever pick Duke games because I will not do it. I will not be the jinx to my team. I'm entirely too superstitious for that.
They're immune right now, so.
Totally forgot what I was saying. Let's move on. I'm going to read my notes over here. Toronto has won 3 of their last 4. Their one loss was to the Swarm in overtime. They are getting healthy now. They got Latrell Harris back this week and now sit above the Nighthawks, at least for now. Is there a reason to worry about this team if you're one of the teams sitting above them?
No.
Just straight no.
There's not. I don't think they're anywhere close to Saskatchewan, Colorado, Vancouver. And I think Georgia, because the goaltending wins the battle overall. Excuse me. I think for their sake, it's good that they're getting contributions from a lot of different places. Like in this one, you saw Chris Boucher had 5 goals alone. Challen with 3. Justin Martin had a goal. Dan Craig with a quiet 4 assists. Matthews with 11. Owen Hills with 5. Dalwick, finally. I need to go back and look at his other games, but I feel like this was a big game where it was like, okay, here he is. He's back finally. CJ obviously did CJ things. If they can get everybody going like this, then maybe there's a thought down the road of that question. But like this, I feel like it's the first time we've kind of seen everybody on the same page at the same time to where it's like, okay, you can do it. Can you do it against not even necessarily the teams against them above them in the standings, but against some of the better goalies in the league? Because obviously in this one, Zach Higgins had a tough night, giving up 17. So the answer is maybe down the stretch. That's a good question. But right now, I just don't. The problem too is I think there's too many teams in the standings that are bunched up right where they are, to where it's like, are they definitively better than this team? And is this team definitively worse? And, this is going to happen for quite some time, I think, especially because I still think Rochester is a better team. I think Vegas and Toronto are very similar teams. I think actually them and Ottawa, funny enough, are kind of similar teams, despite what the score says. And San Diego's right there too. So to me, it's more about, can Toronto separate themselves from those other teams definitively by 2 or 3 games before we worry about the top 4?
Well, the only thing I'll say, at least in terms of, directly below them is Rochester and San Diego. They beat both of them in this stretch. I will agree with you. This is the first time it's felt like they put it all together. Sorry, I wasn't done with my thought, actually, now that I think about it. Sorry. They beat Rochester and San Diego, the 2 teams below them. The Desert Dogs are directly above them, and then Georgia Swarm, who they lost to in an overtime game. So I feel like right now they are appropriately placed. I understand your argument about, whether or not they have truly separated themselves from those teams. I just think, they're there. And to your point, I do think you need to see it repeated. They put it all together this week. Can they put it all together next week? Can they put it, or, admittedly the game after that is Colorado at Colorado, but, can they actually build from it? But I look at it and I'm like, the rookies are performing. They're getting better. The team is getting healthier. I feel like the defense hasn't really missed a beat, even when Nick Rose went out. I think Troy Holochuk has looked fairly good, which just kind of means I haven't heard any update on Nick Rose's injury. I don't know if he's going to be out for a lot longer, or next week he'll be back. I have no idea. But
I was told at least a month.
Okay. All right. I haven't heard anything. So when he comes back, I honestly was wondering, is there a scenario where they just ride with Troy Holochuk? I don't know that you do that. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I just, when they won fairly handedly this week, I just wondered, like, is that, and I thought he looked good against Georgia, so I just wondered, is there a scenario where Nick Rose comes back and stays on the bench, and they just kind of ride with the hot hand here? But yeah, it feels like a team that's doing. It's funny, we had some narratives I think we set up at the beginning of the season about Vancouver and about Toronto and this roster, and how it was going to start a little rough, but it was going to start getting better. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the season, we were all like, maybe not. But now those things are actually like rolling out. Obviously, nobody had the Bandits in 10th place at this point, but by and large, a lot of those things are kind of rolling out. So I just wondered what
they're gonna have to do it a lot more, though, because what do the top 4 teams in the standings have in common? They all have at least a plus 18 goal differential. The Rock have plus 6 and are 5th. So that's where I need to see this level of play over 4 or 5 weeks. I'm not saying they have to win every game 17-10, but they have to play complete games where they can't give up 17 goals themselves. They can't just score 9 and sneak out wins, because sure, wins are nice, but how you win in the regular season does matter, in my opinion, for when we approach the next tier of teams. If they can do that, great, because when the Rock are good, it's good for the league. I'll be honest. But that's really where my skepticism comes into play, just because they right now are fairly like this, and I would like to see them kind of, inch back up. But to be somewhat fair, I'm not suggesting that when I ask the question, I'm not saying, are they a team that could win a championship? My real question, I think, is, are they becoming a team that's really dangerous? That if you're one of these teams above them, you look at them and you're like, I really don't want to play them in the first round. Not because we won't win, but just because you're like, oh, now
I think you're right. Again, I think you're right. I want to see it at least a few more times, even if it isn't necessarily every single week. If you know that they are capable of putting it all together, they become like really dangerous. This is, I think, the first time that we've seen them do that. And so, yes, you're probably ultimately right that if I'm, Vancouver, I'm not super worried right now. They put it together one game, cool. But if over the next 7 games, if they can do it 3 times and really like put together a full performance, yeah, maybe I'm like, I don't know that I want to play them. Now, again, maybe what I say next, maybe next week when, they do the back-to-back with Colorado after this Oshawa. So maybe if you're Colorado, and even if they put it together, 3 or 4 times, if you beat them in both of those games fairly handedly, maybe you're not that worried. Like it'll be a little more situational than that. I just wonder, it feels like maybe they're starting to put it together. So anyway, let's look ahead to this coming weekend. We have Calgary playing Ottawa, Oshawa heading to Toronto, Philadelphia going to Buffalo, Vegas heading to Georgia, Saskatchewan playing San Diego, and Rochester. Wow, that was interesting. Rochester doing the return leg with Vancouver. How about that? What are we looking at here?
Buffalo, Philly. Like we talked about, it's a big game for Buffalo. And then San Diego, because that has big implications if San Diego can find a way to upset. Also, a loss by Saskatchewan would help the Mammoth, so always pay attention to that. And then Roch Vancouver, I think, would be much more at the forefront of my attention if Hartley was playing, but maybe with Hutchcraft getting the full start and playing the ending of that game last week, he'll play better. But really just those 2 games. The other ones I think have some potential, but they're all kind of toss-ups to me right now. I think Ottawa maybe is probably definitively better than Calgary, but then again, they've looked shaky recently, so who knows?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I have to say I'm not all that interested in Philly Buffalo, because there's the narrative about Buffalo that like I am interested in. I just don't know that I'm interested enough. I will do my best to watch any and all lacrosse that I can. So take what I'm about to say with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it's not a game that makes me want to tune in because, again, other than the fact that I'm just a big lacrosse fan, because the only good scenario, like story-wise, is Buffalo loses. And kind of that domino. Because
or Philly loses and trades Joey Rez to Buffalo.
Well, but that would be interesting,
Buffalo
but it would
Joe.
be interesting after the game. My thought is, Buffalo, it doesn't really matter what Buffalo does in this game in terms if they win it, because no matter what, we're going to be like, it's Philly. And the next week, they're just going to have to go play whoever it was that we said. Is it Colorado? Who was it? We literally just talked about it, and I can't remember.
I don't know. One of the big ones.
Oh, no. After Philly, it's Halifax. But then it's Vancouver and Saskatchewan. So it's increasing levels of difficulty. Honestly, it is. It's like one of those towers, where it's like this team. They go to Philly, Halifax, Vancouver, Saskatchewan. So, hopefully they don't fall at the first hurdle. But I feel like that's the only interesting outcome is like, oh, can Philly actually beat them? So in that sense, I'm not all that super interested in the game. I think Vegas, Georgia could be really interesting because it's going to quite literally be offense versus defense. And that's a are those two teams are right next to each other, right? Yeah, Georgia's fourth and Las Vegas is fifth. So, lots of I don't even know what the word is that I'm looking for here, but lots of standings battle right there could shape what the playoffs look like heavily in that one game. And then, yeah, like you said, Rochester, Vancouver is going to be, I think, kind of the big one, especially after this past week. So, the rest of them, again, other than the fact that I'm a big lacrosse fan, I would love to see Calgary and Ottawa play. Jeff Teat and Rob Hellier, and then the young kids in Calgary.
Oh,
Dude, what's going on?
I will say, I'm very excited this week because I'm not shooting a Mammoth game. DU gets done at like 2:30, and I can go and watch all of these games.
Nice.
Yeah, just putting that out there for the listeners.
I like it.
So on that front, I'm actually excited for every game. I can't wait for all the outcomes.
As long as you watch Duke, it'll be fine.
Oh, I'm unavailable at that time, I think.
We didn't even tell you what time it was.
Yeah, yeah. That I know the time.
Yeah. I wrote it down, and I'm unavailable.
Yep.
Speaking of Duke, let's talk some NCAA. How about that? I hate calling it a 0 week.
So
pretty much always. What's that?
I said so do I, but I did call it week 0 yesterday.
No, so I was gonna say I hate calling it a 0 week, but if ever there was a week that we were gonna call a 0 week, it's this freaking week with all of the cancellations and postponements and moving games and doing all the Tetris of trying to, can we get on this field and do that. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 games were either canceled or postponed or otherwise not played this weekend. We ended up with a handful of games that did get played. I did not write all of them down. I tried to hit some of the notable scores though. Army beat UMass 14-8. Denver, you boys, beat Cleveland State in what I believe is at least unofficially the most lopsided victory of the weekend, 20-1. Goodness.
Well, Michigan beat Mercyhurst 24-2. But
all right, well, just shoot me right in the foot then.
Close though.
I didn't write down the Michigan score because.
Oh well, it happened.
No. I didn't write down the Michigan score because I was looking at it and I was like, Mercyhurst. And then Michigan's predicted to be the worst team in the Big Ten this year. So I was like, That being said, it's Michigan. I probably should have. I didn't. If people are mad about it, we'll talk about Michigan next week. I don't know. Penn State beat Colgate 18-14. That was one of the better games of the weekend, though I'm not sure that says a whole lot. Syracuse beat Boston 13-6 in a game that was surprisingly pretty good. The game of the weekend absolutely was Air Force beating Lafayette 13-12.
Obviously. Fly high, am I right? Whatever you guys say. I wasn't in the Air Force.
To be fair, I do think Fly High was an Air Force slogan.
I know one of theirs is like, it's like first there, something like that. When they wear their like specialty like uniforms, like on the pants, it says like first there or something like that and something else.
Oh,
I should know. I've been there enough times, but.
You're talking about the AFSOC uniforms they wore last year, the black and the red.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so mad at myself right now. I was actually AFSOC, which I know because we have talked about it. And I think I have the shirt that says it. I think
Aim
you're right.
high, fly, fight, win.
Yeah, fly, fight, win was the slogan when I was in. Aim high, was the one I think prior to that. And then First There is only a slogan for AFSOC specifically.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it's a special ops slogan. So anyway, down a rabbit hole there. Couple more games to talk about. Ohio State beat Detroit Mercy 19-3. Duke beat Bellarmine.
I said Bellarmine.
I feel like I say Bellarmine, but it's one of those things where like now I'm saying it, I'm like, is that how I say it?
Someone recently said Bellarmine, which I've never heard. So I don't know. They're Bellarmine to me.
Because they're yours. Are you?
Dude, they have a built-in Valentine's Day ad in their name.
I was literally just thinking the same
Sorry,
thing.
we're getting so off track here. I'm just saying it's...
Anyway, Duke won 23-8. And then Hopkins, I don't know why I struggled to say Hopkins. Hopkins beat Robert Morris 17-3.
2.
What's that?
2. 17-2.
Are you freaking kidding me?
I mean, that's what their website says. Hey, we just have to correct it before these weirdos that ghost listen to us and then talk trash come in. They think they scored 3 goals.
Listen, I had a week this week with those people. So
hey, I'm not hating. I'm just making sure we're giving Hopkins their extra goal there.
Yeah. So obviously, week 0, most of these games don't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. Anything jump out to you this weekend though?
Yeah, personally, I think a 20-1 victory means a lot. I think we can just hand DU the trophy now. They're going to the Natty.
Natty.
Rutgers and Jacksonville. Looks like it was an exciting game in overtime. The games I was really excited to watch were both postponed with Georgetown and Loyola, and then Maryland and Richmond. Yeah. So that was kind of a downside of it. I wasn't able to watch the Syracuse game, which Deej was telling me wasn't necessarily the best game, but yeah. I wanted to watch it. I think they also broke their attendance record, is what I saw, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't hear that. That's
cool. I might have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Actually, you know what's funny? Now that you're saying that, I'm like, wait, I feel like I remember seeing a graphic that had a whole bunch of numbers on it, like what would have been an attendance number, and I just didn't even read it. I just like glossed right over it.
You were too busy looking at the miscolored background, were you? That was really just catching your eye.
Oh,
no one's going to know what that's about, but...
I love that you just pulled that out of a conversation and no one has any idea what you're talking about.
Their attendance was their largest since 2012 with 5,585 fans. So I guess not their largest ever, but still pretty cool to see for the season opener. So yeah, those are a couple of games. I mean, Penn State, Colgate was obviously a high scoring one. But again, like I told DJ yesterday, it's tough because it's week 0 and like a lot of these games are scheduled wins, just like in college football. So it's like, hey, good for taking care of business, but not much to take away.
Yeah. I don't think there's a whole lot you really take away from these games. It is nice to see the teams taking the field for the first time. As a Duke fan, getting to see Duke. A lot of coming into this season for Duke, there was a lot up in the air. Who's playing where? What's the team going to look like? What are some of the strong points? Maybe what are some of the things we're going to be looking at to see if we can improve? It was nice to at least on some level start to get those answers. I know I mentioned it last week, but it was kind of confirmed this week. Ben Johnston is going to be playing attack this year. Interestingly enough, on most settled possessions, they inverted him. So he's playing attack. He stays on attack when the ball goes down to the other end. He stays. He doesn't run to the box or anything. He's playing attack, but they invert him every single time. They settle the ball and he moves up to an attack position or a midfield position, from attack, and dodges from an attack position, which is interesting. Max Sloat looked incredible. He had 5 goals and 1 assist. And they pulled starters after 3 quarters. So, he did all of that in 3 quarters. And again, it's Bellarmine. That was the one, right? Bellarmine.
Yes.
And they always crush them. Like you said, it's a scheduled win to start the season. I think this is the 4th straight season that they've started with this team, the B team. Like you said, it's a scheduled win. You're not pulling a ton, but it was good to see. I did wonder, especially seeing the score and us having talked about it, and of course it being your team, what you saw. And I know you were working, so it's probably going to color some things a little bit, but just what you saw from Denver.
I mean, take this with a grain of salt because they played Cleveland State, but their depth looks pretty good. They actually pulled most starters after the half, and then Grayson Manning played the 3rd quarter. So it was 18-0 after 3. And everyone that played looked pretty good. Who?
Oh, wait, you were saying they pulled everyone, but he stayed, is what you were saying.
Yeah. He finished out an extra quarter. Everyone else kind of got, like, Malosky literally played a half.
Duke did the opposite. Their goalie came out very early in the 3rd, but the rest of the starters stayed in and played the rest of the 3rd quarter. Yeah. So, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so, I mean, that looked good. I need to pull this up, too, because I want to make sure I get this guy's name right. It's Bruno something.
San Martino.
No. I want to make sure that I'm giving him the appropriate props here, because he transferred in from D3 and was crazy. Is it Chase Bruno is his name. And give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up. I think he had 5 points in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5 points, led the team, 2 goals, 3 assists. Beat pretty much every man that tried to line up on him, which was good to see. Malosky had obviously 4 points, 3 goals, 1 assist in a half, which is cool. The game is so effortless to him. I think him playing both versions really helps because it's just like, give me the ball and I can just go score at will. But yeah, they spread the ball really well. They clear the ball really well. Obviously, Grayson Manning, it was just like, it was almost like he had a magnet in his stick to where it was just like, all right, like, thanks for that again. We're going the other way. So yeah, I'm excited to see them play Air Force this weekend, just because I think that's, a step up in competition. And that's more to me where I'll see like, okay, this is who Malosky is going to be this year. This is who Grayson Manning is going to be this year. That type of thing. So, but early looks, they do have some dudes, from what I can tell.
They got some dudes. I like that. And I was going to say, oh crap, this new IL website is just not. It's good, but I have some issues. It's a little goofier to navigate. Anyway, and I would think that starting out with a big win. When was the last season that Denver started with a big win? Last year they lost to Johns Hopkins in the game.
Didn't they beat Johns Hopkins League the year prior too?
The year before that, they beat Johns Hopkins 13-2. Though I don't know that was exactly a big win. But to be fair, what I meant was a big win, not a.
Oh, like score wise, I see.
Yeah. Sometimes I think scheduling the cake teams at the beginning of the season can be a detriment. Sometimes I think it can be good to get on the field, see the ball hit the back of the net a few times, get some things going. I don't know. Anyway,
6-7. You did it.
I did not do that. I was weighing things.
Now that's 6-7 right there. That's for sure. There was some emphasis there.
All right. One piece of news, and then I have a question. I want your opinion, and I'm really glad that you were just talking about what's Malowski's first name?
Cody
Malowski. I kept wanting to say Kurt, and I was like, that is not the right one.
That's his dad.
The wrong one. Yeah, that is the wrong one. So the one piece of news that happened over the weekend was announced yesterday, and that is that Bobby Van Buren is out for the entire 2026 season with a torn ACL. He missed his junior season 2 years ago. He would have been a graduate school. He would have been a, what's the word I'm looking for? He was in grad school this year. So 2 seasons ago, his junior season, he missed with an ankle injury. So it is up in the air what he is going to do in terms of getting back. I know that him and Ohio State are looking into a medical hardship waiver that would allow him to come back to school next year in 2027 if he wants to. I think the first thing is determining whether or not they're even going to allow him to come back, and then he can decide if he wants to. This was not the question I had intended to ask you, but I did wonder what you thought on how that shakes up the PLL draft, because in a lot of ways that's a bigger story than him missing the Ohio State season, though that is a big story. But they have Cullen Brown, they still have Caleb Fyock. In a lot of ways, they have a defense that's more suited to having him missing than a lot of other teams maybe would. So in that sense, at least, it is perhaps a bigger story in terms of what it does to the PLL draft. So I just wondered what you thought about that.
I mean, I hope he drops to the Outlaws.
Well, would you draft him this year?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I wonder if we'll know an answer. That's a really good question.
Worst comes to worst, he just sits out the season. Well,
no.
What do you mean, no?
No, if he goes back to school next year, his rights go back into the draft.
No. But I'm saying, I don't think, why would he go back to school, though?
To play a senior season?
Just go play a rookie season in the PLL.
Why not do both next year?
I'm still drafting. Because the thing is, teams are going to know if he's going back to school or has that high potential, then you just draft him late. Unless we're expecting someone to pull, we know he's going back to school and we're still going to draft him first round again.
No, I mean, if you know he's going back to school, no, yeah, you're not doing that. My question would be if you don't know was really what I was asking, because just because of the timing, I'm like, a lot of times people get injured in like fall ball or something, and they know by now, maybe not by now, but before the draft, kind of what's going to happen. I don't know how long it takes for the whole like waiver system to come back in terms of an answer. So hopefully we know one way or another kind of what he plans to do. Because like I said, I think the first step is the NCAA going to approve the waiver? Then you decide whether or not you want to take advantage of it or not. But there's no point in being like, yeah, I'm coming back next year when you don't even know if they're going to let you come back. There's no point in declaring for the draft. I mean, unless you just want to move on. I would think if you know that you want to move on, that you wouldn't be exploring it. And according to the reports, he is exploring it. So I don't know, but there were drafts out there, mock drafts that had him going as high as number 2. So I mean, that's a pretty big shakeup. If you think the guy that was potentially the number 2 draft pick is now not going to be drafted in this draft, or like you said, maybe somebody late in the 4th round or something takes a flyer just by chance to get him
That's what I would
out
do.
there.
You lose nothing.
I mean, there's been some good 4th rounders.
Oh yeah? How many?
I mean, not many.
There you go.
But as I was told last year when I said that them giving the spot to the Drip King, him getting that special camp invite, oh, well, then you're just giving all the chances away that could have gone to players that deserved it. Oh, you wouldn't have gotten Josh Bulkersell. Oh, and how many guys have been dropped before they even got on the field? Come on. What are we talking about?
Hey, that wasn't me.
No, I know. But
I'm just saying, you take a flyer on him if you can late. If he goes back, cool. You try to get him again next year. If you get him, awesome. If you don't, you don't. I think there's enough polls in this draft that I'm not saying they're all BVB, but like you can at least feel pretty good about your draft and then still take a flyer at the end and be like, hey, if you don't want to go, because also like, and obviously I don't know his thought process, but like in this situation, I wouldn't want to go back to school. I would just be kind of done with it. Like at that point, you're having to do another year of school on top of, like, I just wouldn't want to do that as an individual. I'd rather just go get paid to play lacrosse, and sit out the year, but that's just...
The other question too was, I think there's been some NLL interest in him. I think, if I remember correctly. I don't think he really has any box experience. He's from Charlotte. I know there's not a ton of box opportunities in that area. But I think there was some interest. I feel like I was told that there was some interest in trying to get him out to some maybe NABLL games, and trying to see if they could kind of get him into the box system and maybe learning. I do think, not to say that it is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think going from making the transition on the defensive end is maybe a little bit easier. Maybe not. I don't know. It's not like I had to make a D1 to NLL transfer. I don't know. Maybe it's easier to put the ball in the back of the net. It's all the same thing. I don't know. I would think maybe it's a little bit easier. I don't know. But I all that to say, I think I've heard some NLL. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he goes pro. He misses the PLL season, but can get into an NLL camp. That'd be 10 months from now. That's a standard ACL kind of recovery timeline. So, it's possible that yeah, maybe he doesn't. The one thing I would say about him returning is nobody wants their college career to end. He was already in grad school. I think it wouldn't be that crazy of a leap to see him maybe do a 2-year program or something. I don't know what he's studying. But it's lots of grad school programs are 2 years. He could finish out a degree, stuff like that. But either way, going to be interesting to see. The question I did want to ask you, not related to Bobby Van Buren, we'll move off of that topic. There was a lot of discussion this week about, in the conversation about what's more important, essentially athleticism versus stick skills and IQ. And there were so many topics and stuff. I just wanted your perspective, having been mostly a box guy, on that whole kind of debate. If you need me to phrase it a little better, I probably could. I mostly rambled that, but first of all, did you see the debate?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so I think this started with Scotty. Scotty posted a video where he said that he thinks lacrosse is finally getting to that point, and I put finally in quotation marks because I'm like, is that something we wanted for lacrosse? But he said that it's finally getting to a point where essentially it's more important to be athletic, where being an athlete will get you farther in the game of lacrosse than having good stick skills and good lacrosse IQ. And he said, one of the things that I always loved about lacrosse playing when I was growing up was that you didn't have to be that next level athlete. And it feels like we're getting to a point where like now it is. It's one of those things that you have to have. And that kind of set off this whole debate. And Lacrosse Network tweeted out a thing. I'm gonna have to go look it up to tell you the exact thing. It just kind of dawned on me how busy you were this weekend, and you probably didn't see it when all of it was going down, and I should have been slightly more prepared to have to tell you about it, and I wasn't, so that's on me. And I gotta scroll back through like 8 days of, there it is. So then they posted, which lacrosse player would you rather be? And player one is like 66% athleticism and 33% lacrosse IQ. And player two is the opposite, 33% athleticism and lacrosse IQ. Scotty also, I forgot about that. He asked a coach, he does those US Club Lax events where he does like interviews, and he was interviewing a coach and essentially asked him, would he rather recruit a high IQ guy or a high athleticism guy? And the guy said skill and IQ, and Scotty seemed blown away by that answer. So again, coming mostly from an NLL perspective, I just wondered what your thoughts were.
I mean, I'd rather have the IQ personally. Athleticism is cool, but uncontrolled athleticism doesn't get you anywhere, in my opinion. Yeah. Cool, you can run around. Are you going to just get poke checked and then you're just losing the ball immediately? Can you shoot? Can you pass well? Can you put the ball on the money? Like, you might be able to go play defense if you're just more athletic, because at least then you're only dealing with the ball like a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. But even then, you still have to be able to have the stick skill to goose it at times and fight for those ground balls. And again, still make the passes to the offensive guys, all that stuff. Like, I also just think if you have better IQ, you're going to be able to make your game last a lot longer in whatever league you play in, whether it is box. I mean, box specifically, we've seen that with a ton of guys where they're old. I mean, Bandits, we just talked about them. They're a bunch of old dudes, but they have good IQ, so they've stuck around. Mark Matthews is one that comes to mind that played both versions. Like, so that's where it's like, take the IQ. Again, there are certain situations where maybe you could argue, like, if someone's just truly a raw athlete, and you're like, hey, we need a speed guy to go, coast to coast, for lack of a better term, maybe you can teach him a couple of stick skills to be good. But in general, I'd take the IQ, because at least then you can I feel like you can always work on your athleticism, where you can't work on your IQ quite the same way. I know you can, but I think of guys like Jeff Teat who just get it.
Mm-hmm.
They get, like, how many guys can you look at in the league that are like, he and Jeff Teat are on the same IQ level? In my opinion, there's very few. So
yeah, Jeff Teat is one of my like prime examples of a guy that's like, not to say he's unathletic. Like I said, we're talking in this scenario, we're saying Jeff Teat's 33% athleticism and 66% lacrosse IQ and stick skills and stuff like that. And to me, I think, like you said, I think you can be a guy that has very low athleticism, but has really high IQ and stick skill and have a long career. I don't think you can be a guy that's really, really high athleticism and low stick skills and IQ and have a long career. Like, I have two examples of far extremes of this. The athleticism extreme, and I feel a little bad saying this because it's not entirely his fault, but the athleticism one, example is Chris Hogan, monster athlete playing in the NFL, but probably because he spent 10 years not playing lacrosse. Maybe if he comes out of Penn State and there's pro lacrosse that he can go play and stuff. I don't know that he was good enough to get that opportunity. I think we all would probably say that he got that opportunity in the PLO mostly because he had played in the NFL. But that's the extreme. How well did that work? Not well. He played what, 4 games and got traded in the middle of them? And then left to go back to football? Am I wrong? Did he play longer than that? I don't know. Anyway,
couldn't tell you.
It didn't go real well. The opposite end of that spectrum, and this is probably before your time, is Matt Gibson. Matt Gibson was 3% an athlete, maybe. But this dude had insane stick skills, like the best stick skills I've ever seen. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I don't know. It was probably before your time, especially in terms of like when you got into field. This dude used to do the most insane wall ball routines. He'd have multiple balls going at the same time, and he would just have one stick, and he'd pass one this way, then go around the back with the other one, and do like just nuts stick skills. The most insane. Played, I think, 10 seasons, put up 1 million goals, like was incredible. Couldn't play. Some slightly less extreme examples to me are Romar Dennis, who, like we talked about in Lax Lifers Club this week, has in so many ways become a punchline in the PLL because he's so one-dimensional as a player. And he's the guy that you mentioned when you want a cheap laugh. The other end of that spectrum is guys like Eric Law and Kieran McCardle and these guys that were not crazy athletes, you know. Joey Spallina is another one that I think, like, yeah, he's not a crazy athlete. He's not going to blow by you on a dodge. He's not going to do anything, but he just gets the game. He understands it. He knows how to operate himself. Those guys, those two guys specifically, Eric Law and Kieran McCardle, had crazy long careers. So I just wondered if there was anything from kind of an NLL perspective that would change on that, and what you thought. To be completely honest, it's probably even more lopsided because, you know, there's so much less space to be that athletic in, you know?
Yeah. And if you don't have stick skills, you're not making a game day roster.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
Just not.
Absolutely. And as always, this thing should really, you know, it's really here. We're acting like it's here, but it's really here. And, you know, you have to be athletic. You have to have stick skills to play the game. But in terms of the splitting hairs of athleticism versus stick skills here, like, you know, it's crazy. And it's crazy to me how many people came up in my mentions and were like, no, you have to be an athlete. You know, I don't know. It was not that you can't have that opinion. And I will give one caveat to that response. Several of the people that were coming to me were high school coaches. And I can understand from that perspective of being a high school coach, the conversation is a little bit different. When I was coaching high school lacrosse, I always think of this kid. We recruited this kid off of the football team. He was a senior. We got word that he had like seen a lacrosse game like 3 weeks before we started our season. So this is like already in the spring. And he saw a game, thought it looked cool. And we were like, hey, this kid is way more athletic than anyone else on our team. Like anyone else on our team. This kid he had committed to a D2 school in Mississippi for football. And I mean, was just a monster athlete. And we were like, hey man, come out and play. We taught him, you know, some very basic stick skills, put him, to your point, on defense, let him go wild, and was a monster and ended up being an all-conference defensive player. And the school that gave him the offer to play football also gave him a lacrosse offer by the end of the season. So he ended up playing 2 sports at that school. So in that sense, I can understand, if I'm a high school coach, maybe I'm looking at an athlete a little bit differently, but in my mind, I'm looking at high Division I and professional lacrosse. And I just don't think there's any substitute. I think you have to be more athletic than you did 20 years ago, but it ain't replacing stick skills and IQ. And in a manner of speaking, I think those things have to be even better because the level of athleticism got bigger. Your level of vision and being able to find a pass and make the pass that window's gotten even smaller because guys are reacting faster. They're getting their sticks out there faster. So when you see that Joey Spallina, through the defense pass that he made this weekend, that's a harder pass than it was 20 years ago. So anyway, that will wrap it up for us this week, I think. What you getting into this week?
Just the DU game. Yeah, just the DU game on Saturday, as of now.
All right. Yeah. We are supposed to go ice fishing. It's really interesting to me that ice fishing was canceled 2 weeks ago because of the weather. It is going to be colder this week than it was when it got canceled. And we're still planning on going. It's supposed to be 9 degrees on Saturday.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
I'm not stoked about it at all.
Yeah. You can't tell by the tone of your voice at all. You seem pumped. My wife loves ice fishing. It's one of her favorite things. So I will do things because she loves them. My wife is very weird. I love my wife. She's very weird. She's into very weird things. It's knowing your luck, she's going to listen to this episode out of the blue.
She is 100%. I think I told her that we talked about her last week. She still didn't listen. So, I don't care. I don't care about you and your little friends and your podcast. I don't care. So yeah, we're apparently going ice fishing. I'll figure it out, I guess. And then obviously Duke plays Utah this weekend in Durham, and Manchester United plays Tottenham. So we'll see how that goes. Listen, it better be. It better be. They lose James when I say they lose. And when will you say that they lose? Or are we just going to have to go week by week?
You're going to have to just tune in next time and see.
All right.
I don't know what championship comes next, though, but we're going to win that first.
They're only in one competition right now. They were.
Yeah, we're going to win that one. That's the one.
Okay. All right. Listen, I will take a Premier League championship. All right.
Yep.
Could you tell me when Duke is going to lose?
I believe they call that Saturday.
Against Utah?
I don't know. I didn't watch Duke play this week, so I have no idea.
Honestly, I am a very optimistic person, except for when it comes to my teams. And then I never feel like they're doing enough. I'm like, you got to be better. You got to be better. When we play, Maryland or Cornell or whatever, they're not going to stand for that. You got to be better than that. So I am a very superstitious and pessimistic person about my teams. And even I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, isn't it the joke that Duke always loses in February?
It is often a thing. I will say they did technically lose on the last day of February last year, but it was to Princeton. And it was by a goal. So I don't feel like that counts, because I think generally the thought is that they lose a game they're not supposed to lose. But I think...
do you think they're supposed to win this game? against Utah?
Yes.
You think they're supposed to lose against Utah?
No, my bad. I didn't hear what you said. My bad. The last time that I think they lost a game in February that you thought they shouldn't have lost was 2023. So like it's been 3 years since they did that. So as far as the always, now that being said, when they lose a February game, there's enough history to say this is Duke being Duke. But it's not something they always do, and I would prefer they don't. It makes my blood pressure
they won't lose this week.
Better.
I'll tell you that.
Okay, all right.
But it's going to be close. You're going to feel some heat. You realize if this happens, I'm going to look like a genius, right?
NCAA genius.
Yep. I'm going from casual NCAA fan to NCAA ball knower.
Ball knower. This whole podcast is just one or the other of us going, hey, if I hit this, I am a genius.
We're basically gambling with takes, and then when one of them hits, we can post it. Like, see, we said it. Look, it came true.
And what's funny to me is it's 100% like not 4 clicks and like engagement and stuff. It's like 99% a joke that like we just want to. I just want that thing to go off. I will say, for what it's worth, Utah did beat Delaware fairly handedly, right? Is that 16-9, right? That's a terrible 6. But and then I feel like they played us. Oh, we didn't play them last year. Did we play them the year before? I swear we played Utah somewhat recently. I don't know. I feel like they played us fairly well one time in the not so distant future. So who knows? But we'll see, I guess. I can never really feel too comfortable about Duke because, like you said, they do have a history of losing games they shouldn't, especially early in the season. But, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to see them. But that will do it for us this week. If you want to keep the conversation going, the best place to do that is the Lax Lifers Club. That's our community, and at its core is a free Discord where you can talk all versions of lacrosse with other lifers who care about the game as much as you do. All of the details are linked in the show notes or in the description if you're watching on YouTube. You can also find us on social media. Brandon is at Hoot Sports Media, and I am Jesus, what is happening? And I am Neil Barrett. Wherever you are listening, make sure you are subscribed. What's happening? That's like the 18th time in this episode. I just cannot.
Everyone subscribe, like, rate.
Go ahead, hit it. You can
see
do
you
it
next week.
Oh, that's not how we end the show.
And we'll see you guys in the comments.
Good enough for government work.